Sure. I'll talk it out.
Yeah, let's just have a conversation.
Track 3.
Better not be fucking Dave Matthews Band.
Okay. Those of you who don't want to be a part of this can leave now.
Derek, please listen to me.
But if you choose to stay, which it seems like you guys are choosing...
Derek, please.
You understand and agree to the following terms and conditions.
Derek!
1.
Derek, this is the virus.
You hereby waive your right
Derek, please.
to your own personal bodily integrity.
This is not you.
2.
I'm a life...
Per the State versus Neville Reed, my colleague and I will not be held criminally liable for any felony or misdemeanor that you may be a victim of, including, but not limited to, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, disorderly conduct, destruction of property, mayhem, and first-degree murder. And 3, terms and conditions may change or be updated whenever the fuck I want! Consider yourselves notified.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis.
And DJ Neko.
Here with you on the Metal Tavern Radio podcast with another episode of When I Raid Alone. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the dark side of gaming and streaming, which kind of go hand in hand nowadays. But I think some of the stuff that we're going to discuss kind of like can apply to anyone who streams, whether it's politics or stuff like we do, entertainment. It's pretty wide and varied.
I guess when somebody gets a hold of you or sees something and they're like, oh, I'll just start trolling because I can. And somebody could easily just be like, oh, look at you. The fuck do you think you are?
Yeah, and that's the thing that, like, you know, I watch a lot of these gamers who are streamers as well. And, you start to learn like some of the things they go through and some of the things they've learned on their journey as streamers. Asmon's been around doing this for like 10 years. So he's like, he still kind of like at times gets bothered by or annoyed by some of the trolling, but he's either quick to ban them just because he thinks they're dumb as shit, or he just ignores them. Like, you figure as he's running his streams and he's doing his gaming or he's doing like just general chats, like he's seeing all these people in his chat room and he's like, how it is he decides which ones to respond to and which ones to don't. I don't know, but it's pretty interesting. But anyway, like, a newer gamer guy named DM Darth Microtransaction, who's been picking up a lot of steam the last few months.
Oh my god.
He made a video a few weeks back about some of the frustration with some other people that were giving him a hard time about Diablo 4, because he's actually still pretty much on board with Diablo 4, but now of course he's trying other games like Path of Exile and Starfield, which just came out this weekend. But he had made a short video talking about how people need to chill and quit like trying to attack him for not playing Diablo 4 all the time or whatever. But Hawg recently put out his own video, and we interviewed him not too long ago.
Yeah, we love Hawg.
And he ran into the same similar issue. He's starting to pick up steam. Asmon is, kind of like prop these guys up by talking about them, so they get more viewers, more followers while they're doing his streams, and so they're building their own channels. But of course, with that comes all the trolling, the hacks, the people that are keyboard warriors, and they come out and they start attacking these guys. And really, when I go into their comment section myself, I'm just kind of like, don't sweat it, man. Don't worry about these people. Either block them or just let it pass over your shoulder, because a majority of the people that are following you are supporters. They like what you're doing.
And they've been around for a while, obviously listening to you, watching you, enjoying what you put out. Like, I honestly, I know you're a big fan of both Hawg and Asmond, and Asmond himself is so popular. There's like a whole subreddit. People like, so when you're that popular and he's a top streamer, he's gonna get some shit from people, because that's just, you have such a wide net and people in the gaming world know who Asmond is. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. You want the attention because it means you're being successful in your career. The more you stream, the more views, the more money you can make. But then, it's different than it was when it was like a little, underground kind of clique, and your friends are the ones who are watching you. You've got real assholes who are just, I say, jealous because they can't be successful doing something that they love. And, we're in a whole different world now where, honestly, when you have the technology, like, we've been working on our equipment and sound, as you can tell in the last few videos, if you watch our videos, how
it's been kind of all over the place.
We're kind of like adjusting things, and
yeah, right now we're testing out something new again. So it's like we're trying to find, because we wanted to get her behind a mic, and even though things were kind of working okay before, she did sound kind of like she was in the background. So, and of course we,
or then it was echoey, or then it was like we had static. But bottom line, what I was trying to say is everybody now has a lot of this technology in their own hands, where before, if you wanted to broadcast, you had to go to school and you had to do an internship. And a lot of these people are putting themselves out there, getting popular just because they know how to like market themselves on social media or YouTube or whatever. They're bringing in, and they grind and grind and grind every single day. And then, it's not surprising. It was different when you weren't able to do this from home, and it's just like, you couldn't have a bunch of people chatting saying you're a fat old fuck. Like you'd get mean callers on the air all the time. Just think of some of the trolls that would call in to like talk radio.
Oh yeah.
But nowadays, like, look at us. We're just doing stuff that we enjoy. This is kind of how we hang out. How we discover new movies and music. And DJ Anubis really enjoys watching these streamers because he enjoys playing the games himself. And I think Hawg is hysterical. I would say I like his content more than Asmon's. I think he's more creative than Asmon, where most of the stuff Asmon does is just play. And he can do that because that's what he made himself to be, a player.
Well, and I think that
Hawg is like super creative. He's funny and he interacts more.
That's how, yeah, if you're going to be content creators, and I think Asmon, Hawg, or whoever would agree with this, is that you want it to be your own person. You want to be your own brand. So like Asmon has his thing that he does, and Hawg does his thing. He does those funny little parodies. And
those are hysterical.
It's amazing. But everybody has their own vibe of what they're doing and they're streaming. And but it's funny because the two stories we're going to talk about are a little bit different in different ways, even though Asmon's kind of dealt with some of the same things that Hawg has in DM. But the story that I have for Asmon is a bit different. It's a little bit deeper than that. But for Hawg, he put out a video, and like I said, I went and I just posted on his board about it, and I said, just let it roll off your shoulder, man. Don't worry about these guys. There's plenty of us who really enjoy what you're doing, and we're supporting you. And so we're going to take a look at what he has to say, because Neko hasn't had a chance to see any of this.
So this is going to be my first reaction.
Yeah, so we're going to look and see, because this is the one thing I've learned about trolls, and this is the only advice I'd give to anybody. One, if trolls and people are coming in and they're just insulting you on your looks or whatever, they've already lost the argument. Two, everything is subjective. So a guy like Asmon sometimes will... sometimes I agree with him or disagree with what he does to people when they disagree with his takes. But see, I know that Asmon knows a lot about certain things with games. He's been around a while. He's pretty knowledgeable. And that's why push comes to shove. Like if he says something about a game, how the mechanics work, how this works, I'm going to take his word for it because he knows what he's talking about. He's very successful. I've seen him play World of Warcraft with people, and like he's pretty fucking good, dude. He knows what he's doing.
He gets the mega raids going on.
But it doesn't mean he, like when it comes to builds or anything, that he's the only be all end all to that. And again, any gamer will tell you, you make what works for you. Like I still Diablo 4, I'm still doing that. I'm still looking at builds, but at the same time, I'm tweaking them because I like certain things better than what they have in their own design. But here's a Hawg kind of breaking down what happened, and I'll let Neko, if you want to pause it, just let me know. And
okay.
Morning. I woke up and I looked at my YouTube comments and all, which usually I like doing. I like seeing what's going on. I like seeing what things y'all have to say, feedback you have to provide about the videos and all this. But this time it was a little different. I woke up and I started cruising through the comments, and I don't know, maybe I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but it's a little aggravating to me when you play a game only with your chat, your Twitch chat, and when you finally get done with the campaign and everything and get all this, and your chat says, welcome to the end game. And so you're at the end game and you're doing heists and you're doing maps and you're doing all this other shit that I don't even know the names of all the stuff that's got going on. Well, then here comes everybody in the comments. Well, actually, you're 73 and you're not at the end game. I'm just going to be real with y'all. That's annoying to a new player. But that ain't really what set me off. What sets me off is the comment about halfway down, which I've done reported it and deleted. Usually I don't give a shit about that, but this one pissed me off so bad that I did that. But the guy made a comment and said, his brain is the result of incest and alcoholism. I'm just going to be real with y'all right now.
Pause it.
If that guy had said that.
So, like, I don't even think that guy knows anything about Hawg, he's quite an intelligent man. He was telling us about how he said, you know what, I figured out how to build my own computer when I was a kid.
Mhm.
My dad, he always had things, and he was an engineer, so I was just taking apart his stuff and putting it back together and figuring things out. That's just like natural intelligence. And just because he has that like Florida Georgia line accent, like that's what they're doing, is they're making fun of his accent. And honestly, that's kind of shitty. Like,
No, it is. It's all shitty. It is. But that's like when someone does that, you just know that they're only there for one purpose. It's not even to have any kind of like civil discussion. It's not to give you a challenging take to see if you can see their side of it. He's just automatically coming in and saying, "Oh, this dude's a fucking redneck. Fuck him." That's basically what
it's
they're
like,
saying.
oh, what are you gonna do? Go shoot some guns? Yeah, he
Right.
might shoot some guns. He might, I don't know, go fishing. But he also he's quite like engineer minded. I don't know like what his day job is or was or what it could be, but he told us just with pure talent and intelligence, he just learned putting things together and figuring out how to, he built his own computer when he wanted to start gaming before any of this. And I think it's kind of sad. And you know what? I just want to say, Hawg,
We love you,
we
man.
love you.
We love you, man.
And your eyebrows are on point. I'm actually very jealous because I hardly have any eyebrows. I was a product of the early 2000s where you did the whole like rip them off until they're a thin line and they're still like not really great.
Yeah, it's
Do
funny.
you see this? Do you see this?
I think what I'm gonna do though, because like, he does like metal and rock, so I have that Napalm Death hat that looks like that. I'm gonna send it to
Oh,
him.
he would like that. He would like that.
I'll say you're gonna sport this on your shows, man.
Because it's like a trucker hat and it's a napalm. Is it upstairs in the
It's on top of the
Oh yeah. So yeah, we're gonna
or
send,
the death one's pretty good too.
we'll have to send it to you, Hawg. Just give us your PO box.
Not publicly.
Yeah, not publicly.
He has my email.
Okay. All right. Next,
right.
I want to hear it. I'm feeling really upset for him because I like him a lot.
To my face, I would have stomped his ass into the fucking ground. I'm talking about done everything I would have done to make sure that he didn't have anything left of a face. Because that's the kind of guy I am. If you've got nuts big enough to say something as bigoted, as prejudiced as that shit to my face, then I've got nuts big enough to stomp your ass in the fucking ground. At least attempt to. If you want.
Now it should be noted, when Asmon viewed this, he's like, you could be talking to a 12-year-old kid. You have to be careful. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know who's behind the keyboard.
You don't.
And,
don't. I mean, but what really sucks.
But that kid, if it's a kid, deserves to get punched in the mouth regardless.
Well, this is what's happening to some of these young kids. Is they're you and I, we grew up we are like perfect Gen X. I'm like the end of Gen X. You're like straight in the middle of Gen X. And we grew up in a time where, I learned how to type on a typewriter. I did word processing in school before like Microsoft Office even existed. Like I learned how when I did photography, you too. All these things that you do in Photoshop, you can do in the darkroom. We learned all the analog things.
Mm-hmm.
But we were still, young in our careers and young in school, and you needed to be savvy as the world changed. These young kids, we wanted to do something, we had to go out. And now, I mean, I love it now that we're older and it doesn't feel like you have to be so boring on a Friday. Like me in my, 19, 20 on a Friday night, I'd never just... You wouldn't either. You'd have to go and find something to do. Yeah. And it would be a gathering of people. And maybe you're having a few beers around a bonfire, or maybe you're going to a show.
I think for us, it was mainly hitting the mall, the arcades.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically.
But now, like, and again, I'm saying like I enjoy this now because I did have that lots of time out, and we still go out. We still have things that we'd like to do, but I see a lot of kids who their social life is being online. Even when they get together, they're all just online together. Like, and it's weird for me because when I'm with my girlfriends, even now, and I have some girlfriends who are in their 20s, we go out, we hang out, and we want to like catch up. Everybody has busy lives, their mothers, their teachers, they're in college, whatever they're doing. We're not sitting there like on, trying to like look at the.
Well, I think now, like, one thing that kind of was like a booming, even though people were doing streaming like since the mid 2000s or even earlier, COVID was a big part of that because nobody could leave. Everybody had
no one could leave the house, and everything really got like bumped up where you could. I mean, I went to,
which of course led to more people online.
But you have to realize, like, online school is not a new thing. You know this because I finished my bachelor's degree online.
That was like mid 2000s,
and that was 2008 when I finished my bachelor's degree. I started in 2006 and I finished in 2008. And it was very different than what these kids, what they had when I'm seeing is fluff compared to what I had to do. There were like, if you remember what old message boards were, like kind of like Reddit, but it was set up as its own little message board. That was your class. And then there was an assignment message board. And then there was like a weekly thread. And you had to, they're like, your responses to the weekly thread need to be at least 1,100 words. And you have to make 2 responses that are, intelligent, and at least it's a lot different now. And I don't want to sound like the old person because I am the old person. I'm turning into the old person. But I think sometimes, maybe I'm not saying technology is bad, but I would love for some kids to really understand, like, oh, again, back with the Photoshop thing. You have no.
I think it's just kids. I see parents all the time walking around.
Well, I would love for people to really appreciate that. There are lots of things that are possible right now that we do in the palm of our hands, and it's absolutely amazing. But, you wanted to do a newspaper, that's the printing press, back in the day. And in order to, they didn't just like, paper was not willy-nilly thrown away like we do now. It was a big deal. That's why if you see a lot of very old people and like they're cleaning out their houses and they look like hoarders, they have like, years and years of magazines and newspapers stacked up because it meant something. Now it's like, oh, and I do it too. I get my monthly Food and Wine, and as soon as I'm done, I throw it away.
Yeah. Let's get back
to my buddy.
What my ass. But I think it's a fucked up place where we're at today, that people think it's okay to come on somebody's comments or somebody's channel and insult their intelligence and be a prejudiced, bigoted piece of shit. I don't know where it's okay to do this, because it's never okay for anybody else. If I were to go on somebody's channel that was not of my creed or my religion or my race or my nationality or whatever, and start talking shit to them for no reason, just because of their place of origin or how they talk, or their family upbringing or anything, I'd be crucified.
Wouldn't dare do it if it was like a minority.
Oh, people do it, but like
nothing like this though. Like
the
I
thing
feel
is,
like,
it's so easy to hide. Like, yeah, you can ban them or get them, banned from YouTube or Twitch or whatever. But the one thing that I think the best advice I ever saw Asmongold give is like, it's not really so much advice as he's just stating facts, and he's like, when he describes stuff like this, he talks to these guys probably behind the scenes, and he says, it is what it is. This is how it is. Like, you get the good with the bad, and so you have to find a weed through that. And sometimes the people that are the bad kind of have the loudest voices, but those are the ones that you have to kind of like just.
And I feel like, so I don't want to go like too off the rails, but again, like Reddit is the best and the worst place ever. And one of my podcast, Chad Dukes, like there's a Chad Dukes show subreddit, and it was started when it was like, oh, we're so excited he's back, blah blah blah, and then it's turned into like this super, everybody just rails on him, and then it's always like, well, then just stop paying. It's a paid podcast. Like I've been paying for how many years now? How I've been following Chad Dukes and his career since like 2001. I will pay for it, and even when it's bad, it's good for me because it's something I enjoy. But they'll tear him down on that subreddit, and people will go in there and be like, yes, I understand you think it's not a good show, but then just don't listen or don't pay for it. Like, why?
Exactly.
You don't need to go and just be like, he's a piece of shit and his show's unfunny. Well, then don't pay for it.
That's that's when you see like guys like Dave Chappelle on Netflix. Like, if you don't like his brand of comedy, don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're going in and you know you're going to be offended, you're the fucking idiot who did it.
And this is really crazy because, like,
there's so much to watch out there. There's no reason.
Yes, you don't need to go on Hawg's channel and just be like,
there's so many streamers, dude. It's insane.
Just don't watch. Just ignore them. To Hawg, I'm sorry. I know it's harder to do because I get one comment to me from one person 20 years ago will stick in my head forever. So I know it's hard to ignore, but
I mean, they can all send like Hawg and DM and. Yes, when they can send all their haters to me, I'll just drag my nuts across her face. I don't care.
We should make like a virtual drag your nuts across the face, like GIF or something. That would be great, but it wouldn't be like actual testicles. It would be like Mr. Peanut, and then like have him like going across your face. That would be funny. I don't know how to make a GIF though, so someone teach me.
But it's okay because I'm a Southern guy and I'm white. It's okay for somebody just to blatantly come over here and insult my intelligence, call me fucking inbred, and then I have alcoholism brain. I don't even drink. None of my family's fucking inbred. But why is that okay?
See, I drink.
So is that something that I'm going to have to deal with the entire time that I do this journey? Is I've always got some piece of shit that's going to come.
Oh, don't worry, Hawg. You're going to get so big like the rest of them that you can get some moderators. If you need me to moderate, I'll moderate for you. I'll just go in and start boop. Boop, kick your ass out. Boop.
Come on my damn comments and say stuff like that. You know how horrible it makes somebody feel when you work your goddamn ass off every day to bring content. Some content that other people ain't doing. You try your best to be original. You try your best not to be motherfucking Ginger Billy, who takes his southernness and amplifies it times 10 million to get views and all that. I try my best not to be that and be me. And then you get people that come on there and make little comments like that. You get people that come on and make comments like, I was going to watch your video, but then you open your mouth and I can't stand fucking Southern people, so I'm not watching your shit. It's not fair. And I don't do that to other fucking people, and I don't think it should be done to me. And yeah, this is a boo-hoo, whiny cry session. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I know I don't have a really strong Baltimore accent, but sometimes it comes out like with my O's, because on, you know what I mean? And I hate it too, because it's such a cliche and what's the stereotype, you know, where I'm from Baltimore and I am from Dundalk and I still live in Dundalk, and you know it's a huge stereotype, you know, the drugs and the baby daddy, and I'm like, I have a college degree, I've been around the world, I've done shit people never have done, but I'm from Dundalk, so I'm a piece of shit, and I hate it because like the stereotyping, and I feel bad for Hawg because like he's being stereotyped just because he speaks like
because he's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia, and he doesn't really have a drawl, because when you think of a drawl, it's more like more like I don't know, but he's closer to Florida, and there's like that little like he said he lives like in the swampy area where he likes to fish and stuff. That area, they speak just like he speaks. It's just, and then you know you're kind of going towards like Mississippi and stuff, and then it's
probably some fucking college kid who thinks that Hawg is dumb as shit because he's Southern and the way he looks, and because he's white. And that's probably why they do it. Like they think that, oh, well, I'm educated. I'm a big time gamer. That's why I'm better than Asmon and everyone else. They don't know what they're fucking talking about. And yet you don't have a fucking channel. Go figure. There's a reason for that, right?
And, I happen to think like a nice Southern accent is like more friendly than, you hear someone who's speaking with a Southern accent. You're like, well, that person sounds really friendly. Like you think of like maybe a more Northern accent. You're like, that person doesn't sound friendly.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking that far north. I'm thinking more like more like New Englandy, New York kind of accent.
Right.
Because they
Boston.
don't. Yeah, well, not even. But like they speak a little bit more with a harsher tone, and you're like, wow, that person's kind of stuck up or a dick, but they're really not. It's just
well, you know what's
how
funny
they talk.
is America is just one big melting pot, so you can find so many different cultures.
Well, you have to
within
think of
this
how
country.
big this country is,
right? And I'm just saying, like,
I mean,
even if
look at the size
Hawg
of
never
Texas.
said where he was from, like you could assume that he was from the South, but he could have been from anywhere. All right,
This poor guy. I'm so sad.
he's good. He's still forging on.
But I just think it's messed up at today's day and age in 2023 that somebody that takes time and works their ass off on something or likes to bring some fucking good quality content to people can't even get a view on their shit because of the way he talks. A lot of y'all gone in the comments and said, man, Hawk, how come you don't have 100,000 subs? Well, maybe that's why. Because people are too bigoted to give me a fucking chance and listen to my content. I don't know. I don't want to fall back and be that guy.
You need 500 subs, my man.
But it just really pisses me off and sends me into fucking rage mode when somebody can just be that blatantly bigoted. And come on, I mean, why are we there today? It's not okay to have this stigma about any other race, creed, culture, religion, anything. But it's okay to sit here and think that about Southern people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can say it about Southern people, you can say it about Southern white men, but like if you ever had an opinion about anything right now that's hot, like being trans or being non-binary or being gay, if you're like, oh well, I just don't agree with it, but I'll be respectful to them, it's like you're a turf, and I'm like, I've never said that to anyone because I don't really believe that. I don't care. You're a grown person. You do whatever the fuck you want. But if someone would say that to someone,
dude, it happens to me fucking all the time. I'm libertarian, but if I say something to the effect that is sort of leans right, I'm all of a sudden a racist, or I'm like conservative. I'm like, dude, no.
Or if my parents are very, very, very conservative, and if I say,
and we disagree with them all the time.
I know, and if I say something to them, they're like appalled, and I'm like, it's not like I'm like super leftist or anything. I feel like I'm very central. You and I are very libertarian. We believe so much in being a libertarian, and
yeah.
I just get so frustrated because nowadays everybody feels like they have to walk on eggshells, especially to not offend anyone about anything. But then I swear to God, I feel like the white man is being not held down, but like being punished because for years they, it wasn't as, things were not as accepting. And we know, like back in the day, that if you were gay, you could be arrested.
Look, our past is not pretty. It isn't. But we know, like, there's still some shit out there. But I also think that sometimes people.
I'm hoping we've learned from it and become better. That's
well, not only that, but everybody's experiences with stuff is different. You could be a white person who got attacked by black people, like a group of black men.
And then you're scared for the rest of your life of black people.
And so, like, you may never have been raised to be prejudiced or racist, but that one experience which left you traumatized could have changed the way you view their culture.
I also think, like,
and that's not to say that black people don't go through any shit.
No,
I
think that's also too, like, what's happening now. When they, I mean, the news posts these videos that people take of, like, the police beating it's out there. Like the only thing we had when we were younger was Rodney King, and I don't even know how that got out there because that was the 90s and there were not camera phones.
There's
It was
a guy.
wasn't it somebody like taking a camcorder
I think it was a
recording?
helicopter.
So like the whole thing with Rodney King and that blew up. I don't even, and everybody heard of it, but now everybody has their cell phone cameras, so they're going to take it, and then you see this, and as if I were a black person and I'm seeing the police are beating this person who is helpless, I would be a little scared. Like I totally get it. Like it's the whole thing where you're saying like the perception is just it's
very skewed.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into that today, but there's literally a professor out there who broke down the stats about crime on blacks and whites and the rest of the cultures in America, and it shocked a few people, to say the least.
And I hope though that
because it's not like the way the media portrays it.
And yeah, well, the media is the devil, but that's what I'm saying. Like nowadays, because there is so much out there 24/7. I'm not surprised that people are, they get butthurt so easy. Not butthurt because it is genuinely hurt, but I'm not surprised that when you see something and you're seeing terrible shit over and over and you have so much access to terrible shit, this is what happens. Like, I love Hawg, and I feel like, he's so friendly and so nice and he's so accessible that people are taking advantage of him. Oh, this is good. I like that. Look at you.
Yeah, but you can't be there. Let's get into this.
They're a bunch of fucking ignorant, dumbass idiots that can't do anything except sit here and go. Or people making little comments like, "Oh man, I don't want to look like a hillbilly," or "I don't want to look like that."
Does he? I don't know.
Can we hear ourselves? Y'all just take a minute and think about how that is. Usually people don't. I was raised, not to give a shit about what people say. But every once in a while, some things just really fuck somebody's day up.
I know.
And
I hate it when people make fun of Dundalk.
I really wish I could see that guy. I wish if you know who you.
No, you know me. Like, I have ADD. I fucking misspeak a lot. I don't always get my thoughts together for the things I want to say.
Your brain works faster than you can get it out sometimes. So then it just kind of gets
But
jumbled.
see, people would still make fun of that. So like, I get
even
what
when
he's
you were
saying.
a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to tease you anymore.
You
then.
are. You made that comment. And you left that comment.
Yeah.
I want you to send me an email and tell me. Let's have a meeting spot because I want to whoop your ass just for saying that comment to me. So that's an open challenge. You send me an email and we're gonna meet and have a little face-to-face chat about that.
So I'm going to be full disclosure.
Appreciate you for subscribing and supporting the channel.
Called him inbred.
No, you thought I called him inbred. I'm like, that's not.
No. Okay, thank God. So
yeah, none of this is. These guys are cool together.
These are just trolls being mean to each.
This
to
one's
him.
mainly about trolls. The one I'm going to go with Asmongold's a little bit deeper than that, and we'll get to it.
Okay.
Finish up this one.
I'm sorry, Hawg. I am so sorry. I totally get it. Like,
Fuck them all.
Fuck them, and like I said, I get so self-conscious. I never say I'm from Dundalk. I say I'm from Baltimore because Dundalk is like the armpit of Baltimore.
I don't even care.
He doesn't care.
Follow me on
because
Twitch.
He didn't get
like and
raised here.
subscribe for more Hawg content. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Hawg.
So, I meant to ask him,
when
we were interviewing him, like where Hawg came from. Was he like? Did he like go hunt wild boars or was he like a Razorback fan?
I don't know. I mean, that's something you can always ask him. I mean, I want to be able to do like another show with him.
Jot that down, like, because
I don't know what we're gonna do, but
no, I mean, like, jot that down on your notepad. I know you always have up.
Why would he be a Razorback fan?
Because they're hogs.
Yeah, but okay, you're talking about like his name.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, like, because how he got it, and then you see his little guy. It looks like a wild boar, a wild hog. Yeah. I'm wondering if he was just like a wild boar hunter, or
they might have boars in Georgia. I don't know.
They're all over the place, and honestly, like, I've heard, someone can correct me, or Hawg could correct me, that wild or livestock pigs if they escape the livestock and they go out and get feral, like they will grow tusks and stuff like that, like very easily, and they'll become wild. Like, you know how Courtney she has 2 pigs now, by the way.
All fucking predator.
Yeah,
and kill one.
her two pigs are like spoiled like dogs. They're literally domesticated. But if something would happen and they escaped and went out into the wild, they could easily go feral. And it's just something about, and pigs are smart too. Like their intelligence has been noted to be like a dog. Like you can teach them commands, you can teach them how to be potty trained indoors and outdoors, which hers are. They can walk on a leash. So I find that fascinating, and I would love to know more, Hawg, if you are a Razorback fan or if you like to hunt wild boar.
So the next thing we're going to dive into it, Asmongold. And
Okay.
Now I've followed Asmongold for a little bit over a year ago. It all stemmed from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing because he was covering it and we were covering it.
Wait, that's how you found Asmond?
Yeah.
He was in deep on Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Like,
but so of course I kept following Asmon because he was a gamer and World of Warcraft, which is what I'm into, and all that stuff. And then about 8 months ago, he put out this video. Now I've got 2 videos. One is 11 minutes. This is Asmon explaining the situation. Now I told you about OTK, which is his organization that he's in, and there's like a core group of gamers that are involved with this.
okay.
So he puts out this video discussing one of the members of OTK. Now I don't know at this point what the relationship is, how they got to know each other. And then the second video, which is about 20 minutes, we probably won't watch all of it, but it starts going through who this guy is. But first, we're going to show you the Asmongold clip because you can tell Asmon's very distraught here. Like he's not feeling it. He's upset having to talk about this, but he felt like it needed to be done.
So it's gotten personal. Like,
yeah, he when he talks here, he's describing how they had to, or the guy that was with them in OTA had to resign, and this is going to be the reason why.
oh, okay, all right. I'm gonna lean back and watch.
So I think everybody's pretty much seen the allegations and everything against Rich. If you haven't, I would suggest to just check our Twitter. And, we've obviously addressed this ourselves. This came to our attention yesterday. And as soon as we pretty much found out and, looked into it and saw what was going on, we had Rich resign from the org, and Rich is no longer a part of OTK effective yesterday. The reason I'm going to be talking about it, probably more than anybody else that is in the that's in the org, is because the truth is, Rich, like he said, was my friend, and I want to talk about it on a personal level, and I want to say a couple of things that I've just really got to say something about. So I mean, it was a big shock to me. I think it was a shock to everybody. It's hard for me to process what's been going on, and I understand that for a lot of people.
What's the context to this? Or
Okay.
is he gonna give more information?
He won't, because at the time that he released this, I really didn't know anything about this person, what really happened. I didn't dive into it then. Just recently, I kind of went to go and say, you know what? I wonder what happened with that scenario with that person. Found another video. Basically, and the other video will explain a lot of this, but unknowns to me at the time of this video, Asmon there's this guy named Rich Campbell. This is the guy he's talking about.
Okay.
About 10 or so years ago, Rich was like this very charismatic. He went to those, like, sort of like what Joshua Gray does, going to these gamer.
Oh, there's a
things.
ton of gamers. Like there's like ECN.
He's like a commentator.
Yeah.
So Rich was very charismatic, and he was very popular because he knew how to just entertain. one time he was
He's got
doing
that
a
voice
show.
like Josh.
So he was had a show that he was doing, and they'll explain it. But Asmon was a guest, and that's how they kind of met, and then they became really good friends. And so OTK was created by Asmon and Rich shortly after they worked together for a little while doing the other show.
It's like a network that of their podcasts and their streams.
For the OTK is like a collection of good friends. That's how they put it. So,
But is it like is it like a business?
sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of. Because they all draw in their own amount of viewers. That's one thing. Like, remember not too long ago I told you about how they signed extra Emily and Imaru.
Oh yeah, Imaru, yeah.
So, but they had to have qualifications to get there. One, they had to have their own following, and of course,
And they promote each other,
right.
And okay,
and so they became friends. So, but I didn't really know they were like really good friends. Like S-Fan is another one that's part of it. I forget the dude's name. There's like 4 or 5 of them in this group. So,
okay.
But Rich, basically, what's happened here? Rich got accused of raping a girl.
Oh wow.
And Asmon's gonna talk a little more. He didn't discuss it too much, but here's one thing about this is that you and I, we hate this idea behind the fact that nowadays you can be guilty before proven innocent.
Yeah, and as soon as you are like accusing someone of rape, even if you are innocent, it goes out there and it's out there forever that, look, James Corprew, oh God, I gave your Christian name, DJ Anubis, accused of rape.
I'm fucked now.
I mean, it's out there forever, even if it's like, oh no, there's no DNA evidence, or oh no, we got video and it's some other dude who did it. Like, this happened to, we were watching that documentary of that, wow,
Documentary.
We were watching a doc on these people who were wrongfully accused of child abuse and child molestation, and what ended up happening to them. They're being charged by the media and charged by, the community, that even when it comes out, you get one little blurb that says not guilty, but for months you get dragged through the mud. You can't work because you get fired. And then you're broke because you're spending an arm and a leg trying to defend yourself. And then you have to move to go on with your life. I am not saying I don't want victims to come forward. I do want them to come forward. But like, if someone came forward and accused my husband of sexually assaulting them, I would stand by him 100%, because I know in my heart he would never do anything to hurt anyone.
Well, and that's the thing, because Asmon, you can see the pain in his face here. He's been friends with this guy for over a decade. Like,
and
really
he
good
probably
friends.
had some like damning evidence.
That's why I say, like, at first I'm kind of like, well, Asmon, how do you know this is even really a fact? Like, how do you know this chick didn't just consent and then get mad at him?
And that's that.
But Asmon says he had learned of other things, and so he doesn't go into detail.
He's known to be kind of like.
Well, some people say that, but Asmon, he seems pretty oblivious to a lot of that. But
well, things
he said
also
people sent him things that showed him, oh, he's been doing this before.
I'll give you an example of what they would call boys being boys, which is actually really raping.
Grab him by the pussy.
Yeah, grab him by the pussy. Not even that, but just think about, like,
which I can't ever think of a time that I ever thought that'd be okay.
It's not okay to grab anyone by the pussy or the balls. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, look, Trump might have been just shooting from the hip, but like
trying to be like, oh, look at me.
But
I got a big old swinging.
Anyone with common sense just doesn't do that.
But for me, you think of like the really fratty guys, and you think of like past times. It's not okay to do what a lot of fratty guys did, but it was much more accepted. But it still is sexual assault, and I think sometimes people are not realizing that, oh, it's not okay to sleep with a girl who's so drunk she can barely consent or barely keep her eyes open. And now they've come out and said, if you're drunk,
But the flip side of that is that they're both drunk. Who's really guilty of what?
And that's the other thing too. Like, I guess maybe because if whoever is
Able to actually do anything.
pursuing,
Right.
yeah, like if the person is like literally like passing out or something, but someone
Still can fix the
is
act,
still like what I did to you that one night.
Damn, dude, what are you doing? She's going to jail.
I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail.
All right.
All right. I need to watch this, so I'm blown away.
You all who might have been fans of Rich or Allcraft, you might have felt that way too. I want to say one thing though before I go any farther. You are not on our team. You are not helping us. You are not doing us any favors or doing anyone any favors by calling a girl that comes out and tells this kind of a story a liar. I read a lot of the comments on Twitter, etc. And I saw a lot of people that were saying that it wasn't true.
It's because
that
it's
she's
because
making
Rich
everything up.
was well known and popular.
Please do not do that. This is you are not our fan. You're not on our side. We are on their side. That's why Rich is gone. Do not do this. I understand trust but verify. Makes sense. Everybody deserves to get their side of the story out. But whenever you just automatically discredit one side, you're not looking for two sides. You're looking for the other side. Please do not do that. And call yourself a fan of mine or anybody in the org. The second thing I want to say is that if anybody is in any way responsible for this, it's me. I knew Rich more than anybody else. And because of that,
himself up.
if you feel like you've been betrayed and you've been led to believe something that's not true.
Pause real fast. Is he trying to say like if somebody's slipping into if Rich was sliding into some fans DMs and doing things like, you know, sending dick pics, I think that's what I'm inferring, because he's trying to keep it like kind of PC and clean, but what it sounds like is if he's saying if any of you had experienced anything with.
I think one thing that that second video I'm going to show, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to show it all because it's 20 minutes. But
all right, but this, I feel like we can probably start the second video.
Well, this one's only about 11 minutes altogether, but
but
if you want to go to the other video,
go to the other video because
I will say that I think Asmon is kind of saying here that he probably saw signs because apparently Rich was very flirtatious as a guy and really liked the girls.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that fratty behavior that
and so he may
used
not
to be
he
able
probably
to
should
brush
have
it
spoken
off.
up before, but because they were friends, he assumed the best or the better part of it.
And honestly, like flirty behavior sometimes is welcome, you know, like I'm a huggy person, so like
if it's the girl I'm thinking of, which I'm pretty sure. There's a moment in the second video where this guy is breaking down the one tweet that took down this guy.
Oh, wow. Okay, I want to go to the next
video. There's a moment where they're all gathered, and except for Rich isn't there. This is before Rich is fired and all this stuff. So there's this kind of running joke of Rich flirting around, and then there's this girl who I think is the one that made the accusation. But what was said was...
Oh, she's on the video?
She's in the second video. Because she's a streamer, but she's like an OnlyFans or something. But
so Rich thought
they were joking.
Rich thought it was okay because she does OnlyFans.
No, I don't know. But
okay.
Like, I'm just saying that they were joking around, and then all of a sudden they go, "Wait a minute, did you sleep with Rich?" And then she kind of does one of these like shy laughter things. Whether or not that was the event, I don't know. But let's
get the next video going. I know he's doing the apology. He's sad. We don't. I don't know. How would you?
All right.
an instant learn that your career and everything you've worked towards in your life is probably gone as a result of your own alleged actions. For one man, this moment was caught live on camera and broadcast to tens of thousands of people.
Is it the dude
It's
with the
December
stash?
16th, 2022 at the Erupts Gaming Lounge in Bern, Switzerland. Echo Esports, who fields one of the most competitive teams on Earth for World of Warcraft, are competing in a race to be the first to beat a new part of the game. They've brought in top talent to cast this high-profile event, attracting over 75,000 concurrent viewers during the most exciting parts of the stream. One of the casters is Rich Campbell. He's a fan favorite and has been casting for over 7 years. He's well known for his over-the-top commentary and being a founder of the biggest organization in streaming, OTK. But today, something is off with Rich. Observant viewers notice that he's been checking his phone a lot. At one point, Rich looks like he's seen a ghost. What no one in the room knew at the time was that Rich just saw some serious allegations had been levied against him and posted online. This was the exact moment that Rich knew his career was over. The story of how Rich got to this precise point in his life is nothing short of unbelievable. The only way to understand how Rich's career ends is to understand how it began. Rich grew up in Atlantic City in the 90s. He wanted to be outside and play as a kid, but his mom was worried about him getting into trouble or being a victim of crime in the city. In Rich's own words, it sucked out there. Rich's grandpa had a solution. He was the first person in the family to own a computer, and he helped Rich set up his first computer game, The Land Before Time. Then in November of 2004, a game was released that Rich ended up falling in love with, World of Warcraft. Rich no doubt loved the expansive world building and stories within the game, giving him countless hours of escapism where he could make new friends from the comfort of his bedroom. But Rich couldn't stay there for long. When Rich graduated from high school, it was time for him to go to college, and he got into a pre-med program at NYU. This is a prestigious university in New York City and costs a small fortune to enroll for a year, but it worked out because Rich's parents were supporting him financially to get through school. Once classes started, Rich made a friend named Ethan. Ethan sat behind Rich in philosophy class where Rich would play WoW on his laptop during each lecture and Ethan would watch. The two would talk about the game and it gave them something to do during the mind-numbing lectures. This continued until Rich's parents fell on hard times, so hard that their house was foreclosed on by the bank. Rich's parents weren't alone. Approximately 1 in every 54 homes in America received a foreclosure notice that year.
Remember what happened in 2008?
Yeah.
Like, I was lucky to have a job in 2008. Even that's when I was, I got laid off in 2008 because I was working for a restaurant supply company. And, I was one of the newer people there, and I was still fairly young in 2008, but I found another job relatively quickly, a month or two later. And I was very fortunate that I was able, because I had, even as a young person, still had some good experience. I worked full time when I went to college. So I had that for me. And I remember when all of this was happening and I got my other job, and it was like, you were, bouncing around.
Yeah, I lost mine towards the end of 2007.
And then you were trying a bunch of different things, and you went to school for a little while, which is we could do a whole podcast on that. And and I'm sure a lot of people and I think we should one day break down.
2008 was a horrible year.
And I wasn't even I was barely making enough money to keep the two of us afloat, but we were thankful that we had money to put gas in our cars. And I think
everything from losing jobs to my cat dying to her grandpa dying, and just so many nightmarish things that year.
It was insane. And I'm thankful that we survived it. We didn't lose our house, and we had, when bad times happened, we had family, my mom would buy us groceries and stuff. But 2008, for these young people who are just coming into adulthood, DJ Anubis was, when I say bouncing around jobs, he went back to school and got all these certifications because he's pretty tech smart. And soon as he finished school, it was the economy bottomed out, and it happened to a lot of people. And this was for poor DJ Anubis. He and I both lost our jobs in 2005, right after our wedding. And then I was fortunate enough to get another job pretty quickly. he was not as fortunate, so he went back to school, and then he thought he had a job, but it was really like it was just a goddamn nightmare. So like, it's hard to explain 2008 and like the recession to people, because even though we felt it, we really did feel it. We didn't feel it like what some of these people that they're talking about, like his what's his name, Patrick, or the rapist that we're talking, his parents, how they like lost everything.
Campbell?
Yeah, thank you, Rich. I called him Patrick. What?
Fuck did you guys? Where did Patrick come from?
I don't know. Rich Patrick sounds same, right? But his parents like lost everything, and I mean, if you ever want to watch the movie The Big Short, it has DJ Anubis's boyfriend, Christian Bale, in it, but it gives a very detailed explanation.
He's a great actor.
It really does show how like it was a ticking time bomb, and whoever, I forgot the actual human's name who predicted it, but that's who Christian Bale plays in the movie. He knew it was going to happen, and like almost exactly when it was going to happen. So
okay,
yeah, so just don't, if you don't realize like this was a bad time in life.
Million Americans lost their jobs. The entire financial system was on the brink of collapse. Today, we know this as the Great Recession of 2008. To Rich, it meant that he couldn't afford school anymore or even a place to live. In the blink of an eye, he had gone from a promising pre-med student to a dropout living on the streets of New York. Rich's future didn't exactly look bright, but even though it was a rough time, he pressed on. He ate donuts and pizza that shops threw away, and he describes this as a pretty formative time in his life. This went on for a couple years until Rich got a job with a new company called Instacart. All he had to do was buy groceries for people through the app and deliver them, and they paid him $40 an hour for this. He did this full time and spent all his free time during the day teaching himself programming, watching streams, and learning as much as he could. He was able to re-enroll at NYU and decided instead of the medical field, he wanted to go back to the hobby that had brought him so much happiness as a child. He studied computer science and creative writing. Rich wanted to make video games. This gave Rich access to NYU's Game Center, a cutting-edge department that offered development tools, workspace, and collaboration. A lot of times this collaboration looked like Rich challenging the other students in the Game Center to matches of StarCraft. Not long after re-enrolling, Rich decided that college might not be the best use of his time or money and dropped out. He started working on a mobile game, but it wasn't complete yet, nor was it making him any money. His once lucrative job with Instacart lowered his pay to $8 an hour. Rich knew he was going to be homeless again if he didn't make a choice. He could try to find another high-paying job, or a job that was going to help him meet his goals in life. One day when thinking about this question, Rich ran into his old friend Ethan on the street. Ethan said he was working at Major League Gaming, a professional and growing esports organization. He told Rich he should come apply for a job. The next day at MLG's office, Rich showed up for his interview and thought he recognized the interviewer Will from somewhere. Most of the questions were to see if Rich had technical knowledge about how to produce videos or streams, and he answered honestly that he didn't know about any of that. At the end of the interview, Will said, "Didn't I play StarCraft against you at the Game Center?" Rich immediately remembered where he recognized Will from and said, "Yeah." Will replied, "You got the job." Rich loved the job so much that he would stay at the office all day and night learning new things. He often slept at the office, casted over VODs, and made videos that he knew would never see the light of day just to practice. He was completely in love with the work. He started to dream of being a caster. He had finally found a goal that he truly cared about. Not long after Rich started his new job, Chris Puckett, a caster for MLG at the time, walked into the room and said, "Does anyone know any local New York talent? I'm getting married and I need someone to cast the Rocket League Grand Finals." Rich said, "Chris, can I try it?" And Chris replied, "Yeah." Rich had never casted before, and now he was casting the grand finals of the Rocket League Tour at MLG. Rich was extremely nervous, but found comfort in the fact that he had a veteran caster, Benson, working alongside him.
Feel free to tweet out at me and Ben if you think anyone...
At Tinkerbell, at Benson_EU.
My Twitter is at Rich W. Campbell, and yours is...
Benson_EU.
That's the Twitter. I am not named Tinkerbell.
From that moment on, Rich Campbell was a caster. Rich quickly found that there wasn't enough work since casting typically only happens for larger events, at least casting that can pay the bills. He started taking any work that any of the other casters didn't want to do. In fact, he would do just about anything for work. Rich started casting World of Warcraft events along with Call of Duty. Rich still loved talking about World of Warcraft and got an idea to start a podcast where he could do just that, co-hosted by his friend and streamer Hodded89. They called it Allcraft. Their first episode featured an up-and-coming World of Warcraft streamer called Asmongold. After they shot the first episode, Asmon said,
Baby
"So what time
Asmon."
next week, boys?" After inviting himself to co-host the podcast, the three of them hit it off. Asmongold quickly became Rich's best friend. Asmon's stream
Looks like
really
Nick
started
Cage.
to take off after this, and so did
Yeah.
Rich's casting career. Rich got into a relentless weekly work schedule. Rich would cast Call of Duty every Tuesday in Ohio, and then stream for as long as he could after the cast was over without sleeping. Then Wednesday early in the morning, he would get on a
Jesus
plane to Las
Christ.
Vegas, sleep on the plane, and then when the plane landed, immediately go cast H1Z1 for the H1Z1 League. Then he would get back on another plane, sleep on the flight back to Ohio, and cast Call of Duty
I hope
again.
he's flying
Thursday, he
business
would leave
class.
casting half an hour early. Benson would close the show, while Rich went to record that week's episode of Allcraft with Hotted and Asmongold. After Allcraft, Rich would stream as long as he possibly could without sleeping again. Friday, he would sleep. Saturday and Sunday, Rich casted World of Warcraft. And Monday, he would go back to New York City and do his job for MLG, making weekly videos and content. Gradually,
Jesus
Rich started making
Christ.
connections in the gaming industry and getting paid directly from Blizzard, the company that made World of Warcraft, who recognized the value in having a consistent caster that viewers liked. Rich also started to get invited to host larger events, like the South by Southwest Gaming Awards in 2018. South by Southwest is an annual convention that happens to take place in Austin, Texas, where Asmongold lived at the time. The night after Rich got done hosting the event, Asmon invited Rich to go to dinner with him. While there, Asmon brought his friend Esfand. Esfand and Rich hit it off that night, and Esfand became one of Rich's best friends. Esfand didn't stream on Twitch yet, and Asmon had only just recently gotten his sub button. The trio couldn't have guessed how fast all of their lives were about to change. Within a year, Asmon was averaging 20,000 viewers on Twitch. Esfand's
I like how Asmon there just looks so clean cut and got the suit jacket on.
Oh, I know. Now he's like wearing sweaters
Now
and
he's
has
got
like the
$2
long Jesus hair.
steaks.
Yeah,
he's got his white
he's-
grimy
He's got
T-shirt.
the long hippie Jesus hair, and which I actually kind of like better than what he has going on there for some reason. I Asmon, keep the long hair. I love it. I'm sure you don't know me or care, but I think the long
He
hair.
may not know us or care, but I'd still love to interview him. God, I would love to interview him. Not so much about this, but just in general.
I
Pick
would.
his
I'd
brain.
like to pick his brain because
Yeah,
the thing I find fascinating about him
he's
is
got a big brain. He's Malden.
well, the thing I find interesting is he'll just his niche is stream and talk and he just wants to try playing games and show off his gaming skills, etc., and that's fine.
Oh, they look. He dedicates to the gaming. All of them do. Hawg, a DM, they fucking do it, man. They like. I think either Hawg or DM, one of them said they'd finish Path of Exile in 10 days. I'm
Oh
like,
my
what?
god.
I'm level 6, and of course I'm not playing every day, and I haven't played in a while. But like, dude, like, that's a lot of time,
That's
man.
a lot of work.
But
Holy crap.
It's what they do. They get the ads, they get the support, the sponsorships.
And people want to watch them, and you see what this guy's schedule's like.
Yeah.
But I also think
But this is kind of like where they're going to start to create OTK and go on their own. And so we're going to learn a little bit about that.
All
started
right, let's
streaming
go.
and was pulling 2,000 to 3,000 viewers and growing, and Rich was casting some of the biggest esports events in the world. Along with Rich's increased profile came greater scrutiny. Rich was an outspoken critic of new changes Blizzard was making to World of Warcraft, which created some friction between him and the company. If he was just a streamer, this might not be a huge deal, but he was on
Because he's
Blizzard's
being
payroll,
paid,
and
yeah.
to many, he was the face of the company at most of their large events. One clip in particular caught Blizzard's attention in a bad way.
Take a break, Richard? You realize I was in a great mood? And I played the game for 5 minutes and I'm here. I don't need a break. I need to uninstall WoW. This is a game made for anyone who's playing. Look at you, idiot. Look at you idiot. Why are you playing this game? You fucking dumb shit. You fucking moron sheets. You fucking idiots. You dumb. Why are you playing this fucking shit?
He's cracking.
Morons running around like ants in Bobby Kodak's maze.
In early July 20...
I should make a quick note, which has no meaning for you, but this isn't surprising because Asmon kind of feels the same way about modern World of Warcraft. Like, they have like classic WoW and classic Wrath, and it's all back to the basics. Like, not a lot of the stuff that you see now with World of Warcraft, the more fluidity with the characters, the add-ons you can have. Asmon wants Blizzard to strip all that away and go back to the basics. I'm like, no, no. It was such a tedious task. When I first started World of Warcraft in 2007, it was right when Burning Crusade came out. And at the time, I didn't know any better because it was all new to me. You remember coming down the next morning, I was still up playing the game.
Oh God, I do remember.
You were
that.
laughing at me, and I'm like,
I was like, "Did you go to bed?"
I was like, no, I've been up all fucking night playing this game. And it was really a fun experience, but I've seen the changes that World of Warcraft has, and it's good and bad for different reasons, but the way the game works now is just far better than it did back then. But there's just a lot of nostalgia with people who grew up with
Well, I
this.
mean, you've been playing for years too, but see, it's funny because you have never. So he'll go through like peaks. Like sometimes he's like super into it, sometimes he's not. But friend of mine and her husband were like way more into it than he ever was. And it was funny because like I was talking to her husband, it's been a little while, but he was asking if DJ Anubis still played World of Warcraft. I'm like, yeah, he does it, he just enjoys to play. But the two of them really haven't been playing much because they were so invested in it for so long, and they both played and they had kids too. The kids go to bed and they're up wowing it up, and they had like a guild, and they had friends they made in their guild and stuff, and it's very they got really, really invested. And it was funny because he made a comment something about I can't believe your husband's been playing as long as he has, but he's level whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. So, but you have to understand, when they were playing, he makes jokes occasionally he'd be up all night. They were up all night. And this is probably 12, 13 years ago, because I think this is before their youngest daughter was born.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of difference. They still had to take care of the kids.
Yeah, but this was when this is before the youngest was born. That when they got, and so their oldest was already going into middle school, so she didn't need a lot of attention like she used to. So that was what they did. That was how they hung out, and they had one computer in the bedroom and one computer in the living room. And the way their house is kind of set up, the bedroom was kind of next to the living room, and they'd sit there and play. And
I think in the end, the reasons that Asmon and Rich played, or some of the other ones, I play World of Warcraft for different reasons. Raiding is cool, but it's not.
And that's what I was gonna say. That's what they did. Hold on. I got my butt's falling asleep. I gotta cross my legs or something. I am so fucking old.
But that's why I was describing with Hawg was whenever a new expansion comes out for World of Warcraft, that's when I go back to the older ones and I raid alone. I just go in because I'm high enough in my character to just wipe out whatever's there. That's how I get my achievements. When I raid alone. I'm Chuck Norris of fucking World of Warcraft.
Oh my God. Is that what you call yourself now?
Not really. But the things that Dragonflight's cool, but the things about the last 2 or 3 expansions that I don't like is that because I'm a hunter, so I like the Beast Mastery.
He's a hunter.
There it is. The geek voice.
So when I liked raid.
Yeah, so I don't get there's not many great creatures to hunt or you camp out for anymore. So.
But see, you to tame the beast too.
That's what I'm saying. Camp out and tame them. All right, let's get back
to this. This is getting interesting.
She wants to make fun of me all night.
Rich posted a video on his YouTube channel called No More Commentating. Here's what's next.
There's a period in time where if you went on the World of Warcraft Twitch channel and you randomly scrolled through, chances were you might bump into me. And to call that an honor doesn't even do it justice. I mean, it was a dream come true.
Rich had been fired, but this wasn't the end of Rich's time in the public spotlight.
I guess after 6 years of being a commentator, I'm not one anymore. Pull that Band-Aid off. I guess I'm a streamer now.
Life of Pi.
Which also means I'm now kind of an idiot. Streamers are so dumb.
To support his move to becoming a full-time streamer, Rich moved to Austin. The city had a growing group of streamers at the time, and most of Twitch's biggest personalities lived there. But most of all, it would let Rich be close to his friends Asmongold and S-Fans. With much less casting and hosting in his life, Rich had time to really lean into streaming. But just living in the same town as his friends wasn't enough for Rich. In October, Rich, Asmongold, S-Fan, and their friends Tips Out and Mizkif made a huge announcement.
Originally, it was just really Rich and I. We had been doing Allcraft at that time for a couple of years together, and we become really good friends. And we wanted to do something more that gave us the opportunity to hang out more and also to work together more. And so we came up with this idea of making an org and building the org.
I wonder where Diablo 4 Blizzard stole this from.
Right? Oh God, it's funny.
Because now, whenever they talk about Diablo 4, they call it a campfire chat, but it's not really next to a campfire. But these guys are next to a campfire.
Oh wow.
Org around our friends and building the org around friendship in general.
The five of them had founded a brand new streaming organization and called it
One True King,
or OTK for short. OTK was different from a traditional esports org in that they didn't focus solely on putting together teams to compete in events. Instead, they thought of themselves as a lifestyle brand and media production company, not bound to any one game or category on Twitch. The broad focus allowed the group to cover any games or gaming events they wanted, but World of Warcraft still held a special place in Rich's heart. Rich and Asmon continued to produce the Allcraft podcast together, and OTK participated in and hosted several WoW events, with a lot of community support. This is going to be the best WoW event ever. OTK are literally the heroes of the community. Can't wait. 2020 was a great year for Rich with the founding of his new org and his stream gaining over 140,000 new followers on Twitch.
He makes me better. He makes me smarter. He shares things with me. And everything that I do, when I do it with Asmon, I have even more fun. I would literally have him around at every single part of the day. That's what friends are for. Of course, I wish I wanted to have sex with him, because then I would f the shit out of him right after we hung out.
In August of the next year, OTK passed Luminosity Gaming to become the most watched streaming organization in the world. They had pulled over 25 million hours of viewership in the previous month alone.
Damn.
Rich's stream was growing at an astronomical rate, gaining 80,000 followers in a month and rising into the top 200 overall most watched streamers on all of Twitch. Rich pushed even harder to grow his stream, and in October of 2021, he did a subathon that lasted from October 17th to October 29th. During this time, he streamed non-stop, bringing in a lot of new eyes to the channel. Rich was at the forefront of a new wave of content taking Twitch by storm: Final Fantasy XIV Online. Former World of Warcraft players who were unhappy with the state of the game flocked to Final Fantasy, and Rich was one of the biggest streamers supporting this new game. There were plenty of competitive challenges to tackle, but it also served as a way for Rich to have random encounters with fans, and sometimes girls Rich had DM'd.
First,
yeah, I still want to play Final Fantasy 16.
In Canada in March 24th, 2019.
Shut up. I thought it was you. No, you tweeted some shit to me. Oh my.
How far is that from Montreal? I'm going to Montreal in 2 weeks. I was going to say, we should grab a drink.
Oh my God. I thought you hit on me first.
It was a pretty well-known fact among Rich's fans that the main thing he was into outside of streaming was picking up girls.
Wait, with my house?
The girl on the left here, that's the one that made the accusations, I'm pretty sure. But
Okay.
But this is also where they're talking about Rich a little bit in the flirting and
it really she hasn't come out yet.
not with that, but this is where they say, oh, wait a minute, did you sleep with Rich? And she kind of gets shy and laughs about it. So this is where this is happening now. Again, I don't know much of the backstory here. Like, I don't know what the whole story is, but it just surprised me.
Oh, we should have.
Have you had sex with Rich Campbell?
Yes.
Stories of Rich's one-night stands were common clips, which is why fans were so surprised when Rich finally got into a committed relationship with a serious girlfriend in early 2022. Adult film star Mia Malkova ending up with a terminally online World of Warcraft streamer was a pretty funny matchup and made for some great content. In almost every interview Mia did from then on, she got asked questions about Rich.
100%. You have a type. He has a pregnant fetish. He really wants to get me pregnant.
Ooh, that's kind of hot though.
He has a what?
He wants to get me pregnant.
On December 15th, Rich tweeted screenshots from this clip with the caption, "Just had an awkward conversation with my parents that started with, we were on Instagram." The same day, a user named Azalea Lexi tweeted, "I know Mia Malkova isn't lying about Rich Campbell's pregnant fetish because he said he wanted to get me pregnant while he assaulted me and then sent me into the streets at 3 a.m. by myself with nowhere to go." She followed it up with another tweet that said, "I don't care if you believe me at this point. I'm sick of pretending it didn't happen, so there it is." At the same time, Rich was casting an Echo esports event
Spicy
in
White
Switzerland.
Claw?
He was on camera the moment he saw the tweets.
Screen name.
In the blink of an eye, it looks like Rich's entire career might be over. The next day, Azalea tweeted, "If you want the whole account, here it is." Excerpts from the Twitlonger read, "Rich and I had a very up and down, on and off friendship and relationship for 4 years that started towards the end of his career on the Call of Duty desk. Our physical relationship started in Columbus, Ohio in 2019 and was a disaster from there. There were several times during the 4 years that he made it clear he only viewed me as a sexual object, but when I would confront him about it, I would get love bombed and gaslit into thinking he cared about me and wanted to be with me. After he lied to me about having a girlfriend for an extended amount of time in June 2021, I didn't speak to him or see him until he called me asking to apologize around the end of July, beginning of August. I always had a deep love for Rich as a person and friend. As the beginning of our friendship, he was there for me like not a lot of people are. So I gave him another chance to be friends. He told me he would prove to me that he was working on being a better person and that he wanted to be in my life. Then in October, he began his typical antics and begged me to come to Texas around his subathon. I said no because I did not think it was appropriate to stay with him because I did not want to sleep with him and that I did not trust him. He also came to LA in December of 2021 and asked to see me, but mainly was only asking me to come to his hotel. I said no due to the fact that I was not interested in having sex with him. There was not much communication until I was at a French restaurant, AOC, in the Upper East Side on January 30th of this year with 2 girlfriends. As the night came to an end around 12 a.m., I Ubered to Rich's apartment in Williamsburg because he asked to see me. We were in the movie theater in his building and talking, and he repeatedly kept attempting to get me to lay on him. I repeatedly said, "I'm not here to sleep with you and I do not want that." At one point in the theater, he said, "I think tonight is the last time I'm ever going to see you." After trying to speak to him for an hour about our relationship and the awful way he treated me, he just continued to deflect and said there's no reason to talk about it because it makes him feel bad. He said that we couldn't stay in that room and needed to go up to his apartment per the apartment rules. I said I don't trust that, and he promised me that was the situation, that nothing would happen, and he was respecting the boundary I set. We get upstairs and he starts talking about how hot I would be pregnant. Azalea then went into detail about the rest of what happened at Rich's apartment that night. It's too graphic for YouTube, but if Azalea's account is true, Rich raped her that night. Azalea described what happened next. Afterwards, I called my friend who I was staying with so I could come back, and she wasn't answering because it was late at night and she was already asleep. Rich said I couldn't stay there, so I called hotels around New York City looking for a cheap room. I asked for the nearest subway and it was a 20-minute walk. Without saying anything to him, I left and cried in his lobby as he texted me, "You okay?" I never replied. I left, went to a sketchy hotel in Chinatown and processed it by myself. I left New York the next day and never spoke to Rich again. She posted messages leading up to the night she described and the "you okay" text after. As soon as Azalea posted this on Twitter, she started receiving a lot of backlash. Commenters called her a clout chaser and worse. Asmongold had this to say.
I want to say a couple of things that
Fast forward through this. We already watched
just
this.
really got to say something about. Please do not do that.
TK tweeted, "Today we learned of troubling allegations made against one of our founders, Rich Campbell. Rich has resigned from OTK effective immediately." Rich had this to say, "I have read the statements made against me today. I will share my side of the story, but need some time to collect my thoughts. OTK has requested that I resign from my position, and I have agreed. I will make an update soon." Asmongold saying, "I read everything. I also know a few other things as well," begs the question, what are the other things? Are there other skeletons in Rich's closet that we don't know about yet? On December 23rd, one of the most popular content creators in OTK, Jay Schlatt, left the organization. With almost 2 million followers on Twitch and 4 million subs on YouTube, this was a huge loss for the org. The next day on December 24th, longtime streamer CaseyTron had this to say.
"It was relayed to me by Lexi that Asmon communicated to her there were several other victims and that there are corroborating factors in
That's something you brought up about maybe other people being involved or having the same thing happen.
And they just never came forward.
each story. She told me that she is also aware of one other victim that has a similar theater story to hers, and others that have stated he without consent.
Rich's immediate booting from OTK happened much differently than when another one of OTK's founders, Mizkif, was accused of covering up sexual assault just a couple months before. Mizkif stepped down from his duties with the org pending an investigation and continued to stream. He wasn't kicked off OTK and technically hasn't lost his job with them either.
Well, Mizkif's situation's a little different. I don't know all about that one either, but that was somebody accusing him of something. But he's currently, I think, he's still with OTK, and I think he's currently involved with Imaru romantically. I think. At least that's some of what people have said.
Okay.
Whether or not any of them knew of Rich's stuff, I don't know. Like, and I think Asmon, just judging by his reaction, probably did not know.
I don't think he knew
pointed it
until
out.
he started like connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
As of the time of this writing, Rich Campbell has remained completely radio silent. If you want to hear the story of exactly what happened with Mizkif and why he's still under investigation at the time of this video, you'll want to watch my Twitch's Darkest Allegations video right here.
Yeah, so
Have you dug any deeper? Because this is now like,
well, I went to look, and Rich to this date has still not said anything about it. Like, he was supposed to come out and give a statement about his thoughts on it, but he hasn't. And
I mean,
of
it's
course,
been what, 9 months now?
And people are like, some people are saying, well, that sounds like it's a sign that he's guilty.
Or
And
maybe
then
he is being accused of sexual assault, and he's like, probably should not say anything. Like,
yes, well, that's the other thing. People are saying, like, well, if he has a lawyer, they're telling him to shut the fuck up and not say anything at all.
If this is an actual criminal case, and it's really hard because the timelines and stuff, like, they just have to, when it's a criminal case, they have to like corroborate everything. So if he literally has been charged with something, which I don't even know if they've claimed that he's been charged with anything. This is just like a Twitter, court basically. But if he has been charged, it's quite possible that he is not to be online. Like, he's not streaming, he's not tweeting, he's not doing anything, and that's probably
and in his defense, like, that's probably the way I would go, because as much as I'd want to say, like, to stand my ground and say this is bullshit, it's like a lot of times if you come off defensive, people just use that against you. So if he's smart, he's got lawyers.
Yeah, and no matter what you say, you're gonna get in trouble.
So lawyers are like, dude, just stay under a rock. We'll get this to trial or to the courts, and then we'll sort it out there. But some people think because he's not saying anything at all, like no statement at all, whether he's innocent or guilty, like they just think that he's automatically guilty. So I don't know. And I'm not really sure where Asmon's on it right now. I mean, obviously,
maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he's been advised not to speak on it as well.
Well, I for Asmon, as you said, it's a lot more personal. So this is his friend now. Whether or not they talk anymore, which I kind of doubt. Like, this is something that this is Asmon protecting the OTK brand.
Yeah.
So them coming together and say, we need you to resign because this is still our business, even though you were there to help create it. This is bad. So, and that's probably why they ended up getting extra Emily and Amaru involved, because they lost a couple people. Yeah.
They had no females.
Right.
And it's looking like a big old frat party.
Yeah. And Blizzard went through all that shit with all their employees and the sexism and stuff like that. So I have no doubt that OTK was looking at this like, we need to diversify our clients and our business, our owners.
Jesus.
So yeah, and this is
I'm you're not boring me. It's just I've been up since 5 o'clock.
Yeah, she's still working, so I'm glad she's being a trooper and just hanging out and doing this.
I am, and like, this is like one of my favorite things, not fun favorite things, but it's one of my favorite things to like go both sides on, like, because you always want victims to come out and go to the police, but they're so scared to go to the police. And then if they don't come out and go to the police immediately, everybody crushes them and say, why didn't you go to the police immediately? But then
for me, it's I'm on both sides of it because you need to come forward, but I do wish that there was due process. Like, you need to go and handle this in a courtroom. It's so easy now for women, unfortunately, to go online and say, this guy did this to me. And if it turns out to not be true, this dude's life is fucked.
Well, that's just what we were saying earlier. We watched that whole doc on the people who were accused of, sexually assaulting children, and it wasn't true.
Right.
I also, I hate, though, that you don't want to be victim bashing, and that's what was happening to the girl when she came out. But I also kind of she came out on Twitter and did it. And there was a lot of people who are like, oh, you're looking for clout? Like, I don't know if going on Twitter is the best way to do it. But I also think maybe because of how traumatic it was for several years for her. And, a lot of times women feel like if they do go to the police, they're not going to be listened to. Maybe going on Twitter and having it kind of be in a more public arena, and then go and he said he couldn't even describe what happened to her on YouTube because it was that bad. Yeah. So maybe being that open about it on Twitter, but on the flip side, if you feel okay enough about putting it on Twitter, I really hope she did go to the police, and say something, instead of it now turning into it may not even be criminal now at this point. It may be more of you're tainting my name. Why didn't you file criminal charges?
Yeah, and I know I kind of went to her Twitter just to see if she was still posting. She still posts things not regarding this, but she's still posting daily. And so I don't know, again, there's people out there saying, well, you sure seem like you're sure hurt. You're still posting la-di-da-di every day while Rich is staying quiet.
Okay, but maybe this is the other thing. Is she supposed to just not go on?
No, and she's also an online person. So, she has another life that's part of that career. So that makes sense. It's just a weird situation. I was kind of surprised he didn't post anything, but people did mention that if you had a lawyer, that'd be a reason why, and that makes a lot of sense. It's just something I'm going to follow. But I remember when Asmongold did that video, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Because I really didn't know much about OTK at the time or anything like that.
Yeah, and I didn't realize you started following Asmongold because of Amber Heard. And when was all of that?
June of
last year.
Let's see, today's 20. Yeah. June of 22, yeah.
Because I remember it was June because we had that wedding and I did my hair and you're like, you look like Amber Heard.
Thank God you don't act like Amber Heard.
Well, I won't poop on your pillow, okay?
No, you just poop in my car or something.
No.
All right.
I'll just bring home
I just thought this was kind of a couple
kitten.
Things it'd be nice to talk about because it's just there is some dark side to being a streamer.
But I want to follow up and kind of give my final thoughts on the OTK situation. This guy is completely a product of his ego, and I think maybe he got a little big in his head and he didn't consider it being he's not sexually assaulting women because he's so popular. They just want to sleep with me. I'm not giving him a pass. I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm going through what's going in his mind, thinking I'm not doing anything wrong because I am who I am. Look at what I made myself. That's what I think he is thinking in his head. I didn't do anything wrong. I dated her for 4 years. She wanted it. Ooh, that sounds rapey.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny though. Somehow some adult stars kind of enjoy gamers. Like, Rich was dating. He might be still dating her, I think, that one porn chick. But there's this girl named Paige who used to be in porn, who really likes Asmon, so she calls her Asmon's girl. And Asmon talked about her a little bit. They're not dating or anything, but he was like, they kind of just went back and forth video wise for a while. But she does gaming. She gets in there, but she still likes Asmon a lot. So it's just kind of fun and kind of cute to watch her talk about him. But she's bright. She actually talks about some of the negative effects of porn industry and stuff. But it's interesting, this whole world with gaming and streaming. Like, I can't do it. I know Neko keeps saying I should do it. Even if I'm losing and getting my ass kicked, that's more entertaining to people than me actually succeeding. But I do appreciate everyone who's supporting our channel.
All 5 of you.
Right. And Asmon, man, if you see this.
Shout out to Kevin.
Who?
Kevin.
Kevin who?
Any of our Kevins.
Any Kevin?
Any Kevin. We have 2
Are you
Kevins.
talking about Kevin Durant? Okay.
And Lambert.
Yeah, Lambert.
Mhm.
I'll be with them tomorrow. 'Cause
Kaylee.
We'll be doing a review for, of course, Porno, which you can't see right now, but it's there. And it's on Tubi right now. It's not actual porno. But yeah, so appreciate the follows, Asmon. I still want to interview, so please, if you catch this or anybody can send this to him. He may not do it because we're so small, but I think you'd enjoy it. We'd have a lot of fun. We're a small channel. DM Darth microtransaction. I want to talk. I sent him an email. He never responded back. I think he thinks we're too
Darth microtransaction. That is so funny.
small. It is. It's so hilarious.
Very clever. Very clever.
But thank you all for tuning in and checking this out. And if you have any comments you want to put in the comment section, let us know your thoughts on all this. And again, thanks for the support. And we'll see you next time here on the Middletown Radio Podcast.
Just for you.